Hello, and welcome to Step 4, Questions 1 through 13. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. The first 3 steps of our program introduced us to honesty, hope, and faith. Step 4 now asks us to apply what we have learned in order to take a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Understanding ourselves is essential for our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. A personal inventory is a helpful tool for making progress in our recovery. Taking an inventory may be a new idea because we often put the focus on others. Nar-Anon is a program for improving our own lives. It takes courage to look at our unhealthy behaviors. We may be afraid of letting go of behaviors, traits, and feelings we thought had served us well in the past. In this step, we are asked to reflect on them. It is important to remember and acknowledge that many of us lost touch with our feelings and need to rediscover ourselves. For many of us, the first searching and fearless moral inventory may seem overwhelming. We have fears, resentments, and anger that leave no room for growth. Frustration, pain, and unmanageability brought us into the rooms of Nar-Anon. When we face our powerlessness and inability to manage our own lives, we turn to our belief in a higher power who can restore us to sanity. Now we can focus on changing ourselves. We identify our self-defeating and harmful behaviors and recognize our positive traits and accomplishments. We begin the process of practicing honesty with ourselves and others. We stop ignoring, hiding, covering up, and denying there is room for improvement in our lives. We become fearless in discovering what is working in our lives and what is hurting us and others. Soon we discover it is exciting to realize the life-affirming attributes within ourselves. Our fourth step is cleansing, a turning over of soil, which makes our burdens lighter. Similar to the lifting of denial when we first learned about the problem of addiction, we are now dealing with our own problems instead of the addict's. We become healthy as a result of pruning and weeding. We call things as they are. If they are weeds, we call them weeds. If they are flowers, we enjoy their beauty. We are beginning to appreciate ourselves. Perhaps if we look upon this inventory as a harvest of our inner garden, we will benefit from knowing our strengths, weaknesses, triumphs, and our self-destructive behaviors. We ask ourselves, are we possessive or jealous? Are we determined to do things our way? Are we intolerant of differences? Do we indulge in gossip? Are we overly sensitive and quick to take offense at what others say? Do we let the needs of others govern us while ignoring our own needs? Do we carry grudges? The above behaviors can hinder our progress and harm our well-being. We can benefit by changing unhealthy behaviors and developing our strengths. We ask ourselves, are we generous? Do we practice kindness and compassion? Are we honest and trustworthy? Are we forgiving? Are we respectful of others? Do we have a sense of humor? Step 4 is a process in which we unearth our assets and character defects. By periodically repeating this process, we see our growth. We remember our journey, and we rejoice in our higher power's ability to guide us to a more fulfilling and joyful life. Members share on Step 4. In the beginning of my step work, a self-inventory was an impossible concept. I was unaccustomed to and uncomfortable with focusing on myself. I was so outwardly focused that I became physically and mentally ill when I thought about doing a self-inventory. Denial kept me in a fog. I barely recognized myself. This scared me and caused me shame. I did not want anyone to discover that my identity depended on whoever others expected me to be. When I did an inventory the first time with a sponsor, it was much easier than I thought it would be. The purpose of my inventory was to become honest and self-knowledgeable. When I wrote out my inventory, I could easily see my character traits and my motives, positive and negative. I now choose to have a healthy relationship with others. Suggestions for applying Step 4. The purpose of working Step 4 is to see ourselves as we truly are and become the people we want to be. To do this, we stop blaming the addict, God, and everyone else for all the wrongs in our lives. We may find it useful to reflect on our earliest memories, look back at significant events in our lives, and put them in writing. This creates a foundation for taking a courageous and honest look at ourselves. It is important that our positive traits receive as much prominence as our negative traits. For many of us, working Step 4 is refreshing and enlightening. Here are some suggestions for moving forward. Share our thoughts and fears with a sponsor or other Nar-Anon member who has already worked Step 4. Work the step with discipline, consistency, commitment, and above all, without fear. Make a commitment to journal and answer the questions honestly. Be willing to see ourselves with honesty, humility, and love, without judgment or criticism. Search for significant events that mark the past so we can improve the present. Take time to pray and meditate to allow our higher power to guide us. Try to answer every question thoughtfully and thoroughly. Remember, each trait or characteristic can be a positive and a negative. It is all in the way we choose to apply it in our lives. Begin working Step 4. There is no right or wrong way. Searching. Self-discovery is an adventure that begins with Step 4. We examine our actions, thoughts, and feelings. As we examine our feelings, we are not trying to make them go away, but instead learn how to deal with them as they surface. Step 4 helps us get to know ourselves. We uncover our whole character, the good and the bad. Our character defects need to be addressed so we can move on with our recovery. When looking at our defects or undesirable traits, we may discover we have been in denial about them. For many of us, our most important goal was to survive the addiction of our loved one. Our energies were so focused on this one objective, we were not able to see past our denial. Taking time to meditate, pray, and write on denial will help sort out our feelings. We discover how to face reality and begin to heal. Recognizing denial is the first step in moving beyond it. We are all unique individuals on a path to recovery. Question number 1. What do I believe is the purpose of taking and writing my inventory? I think the purpose is to better know myself in an honest way and to determine what I can work on to be the best version of myself. Number 2. Which feelings am I willing to explore? I am willing to explore all of the feelings that come to the surface. I will try to explore feelings I push deep down inside if I can bring them up. Number 3. How can I change my life to have a more positive outlook? I think the change begins with me, my thoughts, attitudes, and actions. Number 4. How will honesty about my feelings benefit me? I think I can heal and move forward if I can truly understand and process what my feelings are trying to tell me. Number 5. What is working and not working in my life? Taking steps to heal and recover is working. I need to continue to have an active role in my own mental health. Holding on to fear and the unknown is not working. Fearless. After working through the first 3 steps, we are ready to be fearless in taking our inventory. We accept with an open heart and mind what is revealed by our higher power. We may see things to change about ourselves, and that is okay. We trust our higher power to show the way. We work the steps to heal ourselves from pain, fear, guilt, and lack of faith by looking within. When we are honest with ourselves, we find there are not as many negative traits as we might have thought. We also discover we have many positive characteristics. The more we dig into our past, the less scary it becomes. It is exciting to move on in order to find out more about ourselves, something we may have been avoiding. Step 4 is a healing step. This step helps us identify which negatives can be turned into positives. We examine our behaviors as they influence our lives and affect those close to us. We find healthy traits and attributes to use in our recovery. Question number 6. Am I afraid to take an honest look at myself? What are my fears? Yes, I am afraid to some extent. I've spent a lot of my life pretending to be happy when I'm not. I could be dealing with a devastating personal challenge, and only the people I want to know about it will know. I am afraid I will feel overwhelmed and depressed by an honest look at my flaws and failings. Number 7. How does having a higher power help me with my fears? If I didn't have any weaknesses, I wouldn't have much need for God. I know He can use my weaknesses to bring me and others closer to Him. I know He can turn my fear into faith. Number 8. How can I overcome any fears of changing the things I can? I think I need to be very patient. If I remind myself that change is a process, a journey, and not an event, I can be less afraid of taking the steps to improve. Moral inventory. A moral inventory is not about judging our character. It is identifying our principles. We want to discover which of our attributes and traits move us in a positive direction and which are standing in the way of our personal recovery. We are not focused on the measures of society. Rather, we identify what is and what is not acceptable to us. we focus on who we are and who we want to be. A cleansing of our minds and spirits marks the beginning of a new capacity to change our attitudes. This enables us to discover unhealthy parts of our thinking and discard ineffective ideas when we are ready. We may start by writing our childhood recollections, then our relationships, feelings, behaviors, and survival skills. We may include what we felt we have done wrong and recognize what we have done right. We try to be honest with ourselves while being gentle and understanding. Number 9. What are my positive and negative traits? I think some of my positive traits are that I'm pretty nice and compassionate, helpful, funny, and thoughtful. I think some negative traits are that I can be quick to anger, emotionally closed off from others, pessimistic, and unforgiving. Number 10. What attributes and principles do I value in myself? I would say a strong work ethic, being responsible and dependable. Number 11. How have they defined me as a person? Others know they can count on me. I follow through on commitments. Number 12. What stands in the way of my well-being? I think many upsetting things from my past still impact my emotional well-being. Number 13. Describe the person I want to be. I want to be a person who feels joy in the midst of sorrow, happiness in the midst of pain, and serenity in the midst of uncertainty. A member shares, learning to focus on myself promotes my personal progress and will improve my life. I am finding my gifts and attributes. A member's fourth-step experience. The fourth step is personal, inviting me to delve as deeply as I wish. It took a while to work through this step, partly because hidden feelings were painfully revived. I was required to focus on myself, a new concept for me. This step allowed me to see my behaviors in a new light. I took many things personally, and it put me on the defensive much of the time. I could not remember when this started, but I knew I wanted to change. I tended to say yes when I meant no. I thought I knew what was best for other people, especially people I loved. When they did not follow my advice, I handled it poorly. I sulked. I continued to debate the issue when they did not want to talk about it. I got nowhere, and I was left frustrated. Good things happened as a result of working this step. While I was busy focusing on myself, I was staying out of the addict's business. I found out life goes on without me having to fix everything. This gave me a feeling of relief. I began to find out what I was all about, how I really felt, what I liked and disliked, what I was willing to accept and what I wasn't. I got honest with myself, and some of what I learned surprised me. In the end, I let go of a lot of baggage I had carried around for years. This was my chance for a fresh start. Thank you for listening. Join me next time for Step 4, questions 14 through 31.